What's going on, all you wild ranch hands? You two favorite
Yeah!
cowboys back here for Cinephellas. I'm Logan Myers and my good cowboy mate over there.
And I'm Harry Ford. And tonight we're going to the Yellowstone universe and the Dutton Ranch in Montana. We're talking about the brand new Taylor Sheridan spinoff, 1923.
You attack my family. It's going to be the last thing you ever do.
That's right. These wild rascals are back talking about more Paramount Plus TV shows and our friends over at Paramount Plus. This first season of the series just ended. This is what the third spinoff of the Yellowstone universe that Taylor Sheridan created. They had 1883 and then 1923 and a few other spinoff shows coming out. But this show, 1923, just ended. It basically takes place 100 years before we know the John Dutton family in Montana. Ancestors, we have Jacob Dutton, old grumpy Harrison Ford showing up in the first TV series as you can guess, an old grumpy cowboy. And we have Cara Dutton played by Helen Mirren, huge fan of hers, and she was really fantastic in this. The rest of the Dutton clan, Spencer Dutton, Brandon Sklenner is a big part of this. He lives in like Africa, he's a hunter, and something happens. He has to make his way back, from Africa to Montana, which is no easy trip in the 1920s. It's not like you can just take a flight somewhere and, Southwest or something like that. You had to get on a ship, vessel, and travel back home. And that's what, kind of sets up the whole season.
Family tragedy and the Dutton Ranch, threatened from its existence. And it's, the character that's threatening it, Jerome Flynn. We've seen him from Game of Thrones. He always plays the old snarky fella. In this one, he's the bad guy, one of the bad guys. He plays Banner Creighton. He's a sheep herder, and old Harrison Ford is, basically saying that it's his ranch. He can't come on his land and get his sheep. It's so it like pits them together in this collision course where there's a lot of bloodshed over this. They hate each other, Jacob Dutton and Banner Creighton. And really the season all spirals out of control from the two of those, getting into it. Banner Creighton tries, first to do it lawfully, but then it turns to, classic old gunfighting like it does in the Old West. And eventually he turns to an old favorite actor from the 1980s. He played James Bond at one point. We're talking about Timothy Dalton, this really rich guy, with a lot of power, and he's also the villain too. He has an evil streak to him, which you'll see some other scenes where it shows how evil he really is. But him and Creighton Banner basically working together to try to put an end to what Jacob and Kara are doing there on the Dutton Ranch, and they want to take over that land. They don't want the Duttons to stake claim there. They want the land for themselves, and they want it all. And really, the season's about those two going at it, and it's going to take old Spencer, who you mentioned, Brandon Sklenner, the big game hunter. He's this tough guy. He's the young heartthrob in the show this season. Through a lot of the episodes, it's all about him hunting, and then he finds love, this, really rich, high society girl, Alexandra, played by Julia Schleifer. And they fall in love, of course. And, she was engaged, rich guy with a rich family. She was basically going to marry him for the money until she saw Spencer, and old Spencer took her breath away.
There's other side stories kind of going on within 1923, being a Native American girl. She's at like this Catholic school or something, church, and starts getting beat by nuns and takes off and escapes and finds this other Native American, the ancestor of the Rainwaters, which we know from Yellowstone. They set up their side story. It doesn't really go anywhere. They're not even related, but he's basically trying to help her escape from all these like crazy priests and nuns after her. He's like literally beating the shit out of her, and that kind of set up that whole side story.
Yeah, Taylor Sheridan's known for his great writing, and 1923, features that again in spades. It's a great show. Obviously, going to a new time period we saw from 1883 and now 1923, dealing with Prohibition. World was switching over to automobiles, and you still had the Duttons, living on the ranch, still going traveling by horse. Basically a whole new world out there, and everybody having to adjust to that. And then people, not wanting the Duttons to be able to claim this land in Montana. and you have the Duttons who will die for that land. So it's really a great show that expands, the whole world really, with Spencer being out in Africa and hunting big game and then bringing it all full circle and coming back to the ranch. But it opens up the Yellowstone universe in a big way. With 1883, it was all about the Oregon Trail, with Tim McGraw and Faith Hill and their characters, the Duttons, traveling the Oregon Trail. This brings it to a new time period, and it's really opening up the modern world. And it expands the universe of Yellowstone in a big way. And, I had a great time with 1923, another winner from Taylor Sheridan for sure.
Only minor complaints. There are just a few stories kind of going on at the
Mhm.
same time and didn't really go anywhere. A bit slow
Yeah.
at times too. A few of the characters, like the family members, some of the Duttons, like Jack Dutton. There's a character named Zane that really weren't as good compared to the other actors, which is fine. Maybe they're just setting them up for another season
Yeah.
2. But the standout performances here: Harrison Ford, Helen Mirren for sure, and I love Brendan
Mhm.
Sklenar as Spencer. Young heartthrob making his way back to Montana to be reunited with his family. And I thought they would have done that this season, but he was still trying to make it there, and
Yeah.
getting captured was kind of silly, but
Right.
he's trying to get there. So hopefully next season we'll see that all pan out and see what happens to the ranch, because Whitfield at the end of the season basically shows up and serves them papers or shows them papers that he paid their taxes and he owns the land, I guess, or something like that. They
Yeah.
have a
Basically.
certain amount of time to pay it back, which is not even legal, but maybe it was in the
Right.
1920s. I'm like,
Yeah.
huh?
Probably.
Yeah, I can't really pull that information, but
Yeah.
it's setting that up as the big bad guy, Whitfield. He loves, pain. He's a really evil, dirty man, and they're really starting to see the beginning of where that's going to lead in the next season. So I thought the rest of the cast is really phenomenal. Taylor Sheridan always writing some really great material and great characters and people you care about from week to week. And this is yet another example of that. So that being said, I'm going to give 1923, the entire season, streaming on Paramount Plus. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Harrison Ford, grumpy old man hair pieces.
Kind of interesting because Spencer is much like a younger Harrison Ford, like when he started his career, the younger kind of Han Solo, kind of brash young guy. So it's like the new generation, obviously, of the Duttons coming up. But like you mentioned, there are some criticisms for me too. Like you mentioned, they played heavily at times on the relationship between, it felt at times like it was all about Spencer and Alexandra. They kind of went away from the ranch for too long. And this journey like spanned the whole season, where it felt like it could have been wrapped up in a couple episodes, just Spencer finally getting there.
Yeah.
But I think they had already, planned this for 2 seasons. So they had to kind of stretch out the story, which is understandable, but it made the story slow at times, like you mentioned. Just minor complaints. And then, a couple side stories that didn't really amount to much. It was kind of just filler. But, the good outweighed the bad for sure. And it was great to see Timothy Dalton back again. I hadn't seen that guy in a while. And he had some great scenes there with those prostitutes where they were whipping each other, and he kind of got off watching the one whip the other. And, he said he kind of liked watching the power, he's all about power. So he kind of, and, revealed what his whole motivation is for, wanting the ranch and everything. He wants ultimate power. He gets off on that. So very cool villain turn for Timothy Dalton, but excellent cast, excellent writing, of course. We're going to get a second season that's going to wrap up this whole story. I believe that's going to be it after season 2. So it's going to be really cool to see Spencer come back, and we're going to get to see him. He brings World War I experience, big game hunting. So there's going to be some cool gunfights and action in season 2 that I can't wait for.
Let's talk about how Spencer just threw the guy off the side of the ship. That was awesome.
Yeah. I mean,
thrill.
I can't blame him. Yeah.
There's like in a duel with this guy that's all drunk, this English guy, and they bring out swords and he just tosses him.
Tosses his little goofy, geeky ass
like
off.
Michael Myers with the Bucky the electrician.
Yep.
Throws him.
Right. So with that being said, we both enjoyed 1923 quite a bit. We had some qualms with it, but overall another winner and a great spinoff for the Yellowstone universe. I am going to give season 1 of 1923 a 4 out of 5 Helen Mirren hair pieces. Get off our fucking land.
So I want to hear from all you wild cowboys out there. What did you like about 1923? What didn't you like about it? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to click subscribe. Also, check out these wild ranch hands on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and our website, Cinephellas.com, for the latest, greatest TV, movie news and reviews.
Thank you to Paramount Plus for providing us with some screeners for 1923. We appreciate that very much, and we will be back to review the second season of 1923. It's probably going to be a while before it films. I assume probably 2024 to wrap up that story, but it's going to be great to finally see how this all unfolds. And there's going to be some more spinoffs to come. Obviously, the 4-6s Ranch, we still have yet to see that. And the Bass Reeves story. Some more Yellowstone universe to come. Obviously, we've heard the big news with Yellowstone season 5. Kevin Costner's doing some other project, his kind of passion project. So it's kind of putting things, in flux here. We don't know when we're going to get the rest of season 5, basically, or if it's even going to continue, how it's going to continue. So who knows? This might be the end of the regular Yellowstone universe. But these spinoffs have been pretty spot on so far, and I look forward to seeing some more. So we want to hear what you guys thought of 1923. Let us know what you guys thought in the comment section. And thank you for watching our review of 1923. So that's it, partner. I'll see you the next time at the Dutton Ranch. We're signing out from the Yellowstone Ranch. I'm Uncle Henry.
And I'm Uncle Logan Dutton, signing out to the next TV review, I reckon. Cheers!
Cheers!